here very quickly, but then I'm going to edit this.
Okay.
Okay, so a little bit of preparation.
Yeah.
I'm going to introduce myself, Marcos, co-founder of Find Your Flouu. I'm here with Jack. You say hello, a few words. Then I'm going to talk about our intention. This moment in time is for us to have a conversation with the objective for this to serve as a support or inspiration to someone else to feel good and alive every day.
Perfect.
The format is perfectly imperfect because we are just preparing this.
Yeah.
So it's, whatever it comes, whatever it takes, it will be the outcome. Yeah. And that's it. If you can go then 5 to 7 minutes through your story, how you end up, funding your company.
Yeah.
How did that happen? And then after you go through your career, because people will be interested, like, oh, how he did it? What is his background? X, Y, and Z. And then we jump into the learnings, wisdom that you would like to share today in regards to look after yourself, physically, mentally.
Yeah.
I know a little bit because you shared with me how difficult it was to navigate the whole entrepreneurship. But I think that whatever you want to share, really, I respect your space. So what I tend to do is, when you go through and then when you open up to share something, I just ask questions based on that. Very rarely I would just come across to a random uncomfortable question. No, I think that that's not my style and not my intention. So I think that, let's go with the flow. Yeah.
Cool. Let's go with the flow.
Cool.
I love that. It's so good. Let's go with the flow. But that's an actually really good thing to go to live by. Go with the flow.
Let's go with the flow. Yeah. Despite the uncertainty, here we are. Well, thank you, everybody. My name is Marcos, co-founder of Find Your Flouu. I'm here. I have the privilege to be sat here with Jack, who traveled from Wimbledon today to be here with us. So, Jack, welcome.
Nice to meet you. Can't wait to get started.
Okay. So we have technical difficulties. No surprise, but for those of you who know this podcast, it's perfectly imperfect.
Perfect.
So whatever can happen here. So to begin with, let's talk about our intention. Why you have decided to take your time to be sat here. Our objective is for this moment, for this conversation, to serve as an inspiration or support for someone else in their journey to live good, feel good, and alive every day. We don't need to wait to go on holidays, to feel that moment. Yeah. It's nice when we go on holidays, but also it's important to carve out space for that to happen every day. Otherwise, life is too short. No?
Exactly.
Yeah. And again, perfectly imperfect. So we had many, props and things that I think that are working. But I think that
we've got two mics.
We've got
a camera. We've got a light.
Exactly. So whatever it happens, it will be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us more about you, Jack. I know that is your first podcast being interviewed by someone.
Yeah.
But I think that we would love to know about you, your story, where you come from, how you got to be in charge of a very successful a company. So you tell us.
Yeah. So my background, mid-30s, kind of northern guy. Travelled around the whole of the UK. So originally from the north. Left university, Lancaster University, in my early 20s. Moved up to Manchester.
You left, so you dropped out.
Oh no! I did the full 3 years. I did the full 3 years. So I didn't drop out. I wasn't like a university dropout. Okay. But yeah, I did the full 3 years over at Lancaster University. I stay close to home. I'm originally from the Lake District, so lived on campus and stayed really local. Left there with the geography degree, and then I think it was roughly around about 2008. The downturn, very hard, very difficult to get roles. My whole intention throughout GCSEs, university was to get into marketing. But I stumbled across recruitment, which is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Absolutely love recruitment as an industry, helping people and helping businesses attract really good people. So worked for a couple of companies in Manchester. Was very successful within those two businesses, and then decided probably about 2 or 3 years, only having 2 or 3 years recruitment experience, to set up my own company. So that was about 11, 12 years now. So I set up Blu Digital, I think at 23, 24 years of age.
Okay. Wow.
Which is good. Moved down to London.
Okay.
Spent 10 years in London. And then just before COVID, moved back to the homeland, which is the Lake District. Because the plan was to always have a base or return back to the Lake District. You know, if you're from the countryside, if you live in the countryside, it's chalk and cheese with the city. And I love the city. I love London. I love the hustle and bustle of it. I love the companies we work with. So the business itself, it's like country meets city. So we've got an office in central London in Bank, and then we've also got one looking out on fields of sheep and cow in the Lake District.
Amazing.
So 2 offices based there. And yeah, I've been running Blu Digital for around about 10 years now. Alongside of that, I run peer-to-peer network, which we are both a part of. Which
community.
Is community. Which is invite only. Only people in the know are part of. So I think we're at 250 members for that Digital Leaders Club. And alongside of that, have a small property portfolio about to launch in America this month for Blu Digital. And yeah, that takes us up to where we are now, really, which is good. And there's loads of things that have happened in between, obviously being born and now, that we can definitely talk about.
Talk about it. Look, very inspiring because you do many things. And that's amazing. You know, sometimes in society, you know, people can tell you that you should be good at one thing, and then it seems that you do many. So congratulations for where you are today. And as you were going through, I wanted to ask you about when you did that jump into leaving the jobs where you were really successful. You know, you said that you only had 3 years of experience in recruitment.
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And then you decided to, okay, I'm just going to adventure into this entrepreneurial space. Like, why? That number one. And second, how was that journey?
I would say, looking back on it now, it'd be a total different ball game if I was to start a business now in my mid-30s to early 20s. Because early 20s, you're starting out in your career, you've got really nothing to lose. You know, you're just going into it, just completely blind and just going for it, essentially. So my whole family, I was brought up surrounded by strong individuals. Strong guys and girls who own their own business. So when I was growing up, it was in a culture where it's okay to fail. It's okay to be busy, you know, and look up to a lot of strong individuals in that way. And working for a couple of businesses, I started off doing one type of recruitment and then doing a different type of recruitment second time round. And in both businesses, I very quickly became the best person within both businesses, and I can't be managed. I'm an individual that can't be managed.
Freedom.
Yeah. I don't like being told what to do, and my wife, would agree with that. So yeah, and I always like to keep busy and doing a lot more. So I don't like to be constrained. I'm just a type of individual who just wants to fill my diary, my time with as much as possible. So I would say it wasn't daunting. It was more exciting more than anything, you know, having 3 years of being super successful and using it as a training ground, dealing with lots of setbacks, dealing with things which I may not necessarily have been able to deal with if I was doing it by myself under the guidance of people who essentially were better than me and with more experience. So going into it completely blind, I had full confidence in myself. You know, there wasn't a situation where I wasn't going to succeed. You know, whatever I've done, I've always succeeded at. Not because I've been the best, just because it's just that will to work hard to get to that final outcome. You know, setting those small goals. So starting the business, I knew nothing about digital. I had no client contacts. I didn't know any candidates. And then just started at ground zero with nothing, like in the sense of knowledge. Didn't get a loan out, didn't get a business loan. Had no savings. I was in my early 20s, so I was going out quite a lot in the weekends. Okay. And was getting paid quite a lot. So I think I went into it with probably £1,000 savings. So we had to perform from month one. So from month one, got our first clients, got our first candidates, and that's going into it without knowing a Scooby about digital marketing, e-commerce. Didn't know what PPC was, didn't know what SEO was, but what I did know is that digital was something, especially 2010 when we set the business up, was a growing market and industry. So I wouldn't say it was dread or anything like that. I was more excited to get into it, to see how far I could go with it. So,
well, that was very inspiring. And as you were going through, you mentioned that you were always inspired by this people around your community, that they're strong people that run their own businesses. And you also talked about mindset somehow, because you said that you break down all of these goals and work towards them. So if you wouldn't mind, can you zoom into that? In terms of mindset, because how did you look at it? It was more towards effort, and that was your gratification, your sense of achievement, or was it more towards the final goal or vision to have God knows how many clients? So if you can talk about it, that would be amazing.
So everyone has different starting points in life, whether it being economic or family or education or a whole wide range of things. I was very lucky, up until the age of 16. So I both my family and all my family from working class backgrounds, and they worked exceptionally hard to have successful businesses, and all their businesses were very successful. Starting in a similar position to how I've started, from literally ground zero with absolutely nothing, and grew it into something really, really special in a variety of industries. So growing up, I was surrounded by those individuals. And I think when you're young, when you don't know like who you are, or you just don't know anything about nothing, you don't know nothing about anything. So when you're growing up, or when I grew up especially, my father had, let's just say, like a big farm, like industrial farm, which he grew. So which he grew, and it became really successful. And from a young age, maybe 3, I was working. So work ethic was instilled in me as part of my DNA, from 3-4 years of age. So it's just normal to want to work, to be productive. And I think it's important, if you're being productive, then you can have positive outcomes. I don't believe in being happy all the time, because life is full of ups and downs. But what makes me particularly happy or happier is going through challenges, going through problems and overcoming them. That's what makes me happy, because it makes you understand that I can actually deal with quite a lot. So yeah, being around a solid family unit, strong individuals. I had the luxury of being privately educated, so I had that attention, on a day-to-day for me. And then in terms of that mindset which you talk about, so growing up with that solid infrastructure and that solid safety net around me, So roughly around about 16 and 18. So my family, my father was really successful and then completely lost the business. So we lost completely everything.
Wow.
So lost everything. The family disintegrated. But what was really good about that situation, I'm happy that actually happened, is actually going from something where you're a very, very lucky individual to something where you're going to have to start all over again, and being forced into that situation to having to do that is actually a very lucky situation to be in, because being in that situation, what drove me and drives me is to be in that situation where that will never happen again, you know, and also you can rely on yourself and experience certain things and issues and problems throughout your life and overcome them. Because as we know, not every day, but some days can be ups and downs, some weeks can be ups and downs, and especially the life of a businessman growing a business, you're going to have ups and downs all the time. And I think what gave me that mindset is experience loads of different scenarios growing up, being thrown into those situations to make sure that, you know, I was succeeding at the end of it. And I think all the problems that I came across and all the things that came from, say, 16 to 21, I just tackled with complete and utter gusto. And because I had that confidence coming away that I could actually overcome those when starting a business, I had 100% confidence it was going to work because every challenge that I've taken on board, I've overcome. And I think that's what's really important about mindset. The more challenges you have in life and the more things you can overcome, the better you are to tackle adversity. So yeah, in a way, that's where the mindset came from, that safety net, growing up with all that safety around me, having that confidence, having those problems, overcoming them. So going into that, you know, position of starting a business, I knew it would succeed, you know, especially within the first couple of years to get it off the ground.
Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. And it seems for me that there was a lot of support.
Exactly.
For you growing up that made somehow who you are part of you, you know. And thanks for sharing the challenges. Must have been really tough, but also you see beauty in it. You know, so like thanks to that, probably you developed that strong mindset of overcoming challenges and understanding that life is goods and bads, ups and downs, and is how you go through those ups and downs with your mindset, with your ways of being. So thank you.
I think from my side, I seek it as well. The more rubbish you have in your life, the more things you overcome and the better you get as an individual. You know, life's not just rosy all the time. And, you know, life can be a bit boring if it's happy all the time. You want to have those challenges. So from my perspective, I seek it out. I just want more challenges. The more issues and problems I have, I know I'm getting better and I'm improving in my skill set and how I handle things.
And in terms of handling, especially the bad moments or the challenging moments, and talking about support. What does support looks like for you when life happens in business, in life, in general? You know, how does that support, let's say, systems or how does that support in general for Jack looks like?
There's 3 different types of support. So there's individual support. So I think everyone has conversations with themselves. You know, it's like self awareness, self-soothing. You know, it's having those internal conversations to find out what route you're going to go, what decisions you're going to make. So over the years, I've been super comfortable when coming across challenges that I turn it into a positive, like you said. You know, I welcome them. How do I deal with this? What is the best solution for this? I'm a very solution-orientated person. I don't look at the problems and stuff. It's a waste for me personally. For me to progress, it's a waste of time. I want to put time into solutions and progress. So Self-soothing, self-conversations definitely help with issues, problems, and things which crop up. I've got a very supportive wife who I've been with her over 10 years. She's absolutely amazing. And similar situation to having those internal conversations. If we have a problem, we talk about it. We have solutions for it. And we have a very positive outlook on life and a very solution-orientated way of looking at things, because we know life is full of ups and downs. And if you're in a downward spot at that particular moment in time, in the future, there's going to be a high. You just got to wait for it, ride it out. And thirdly, I've got a little dog. So little dog called Barry. She's absolutely amazing. So, and I think the love of an animal, I know it's really strange to say, but a love of an animal, particularly a little dog, a little cheeky dog, is absolutely amazing. So I live in the countryside now, like I mentioned, so up in the Lake District. So being out in the countryside, walking, being active, breathing fresh air, being surrounded by peace is also as good. It's really good for your soul. I love London. I love the hustle and bustle of London. But I'd like the option of going into the countryside one week and the city the other. I think having both options really is really good. So,
totally.
But I recommend anyone getting a little small dog.
Okay. I don't have it yet because obviously I live in London, small places, but I have a dream to have this Spanish hunt.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Is it a big dog?
It's a big dog, yeah. So that's why I need space, but let's see what happens.
I got a small dog because it's small dog, small poos. So I don't want to be I don't want to be picking up big poos.
Exactly. Look, Jack, thank you for sharing, and very interesting. And I wanted to ask you about your first one first. You talked about these conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
Which is an act of self-love, because you take the time for you to understand what's happening and almost like zooming out, okay, this is a challenge and how we go through that. And when you take that moment, space, is anything that you would like to share with people in regards to how you do it, i.e., in a form of journaling or in a form of self-talk? How is your way or technique? Maybe way is a better. What is your way to do it? Because it's difficult to first have the space and almost like take the time when things are happening to say, hold on. How do you do it?
It's just looking at it from a factual perspective, really factual. So in varying degrees of your life and varying degrees of the moment, you can have the support of a family, you can have the support of your loved ones around you to talk things through. That old age saying that you're born alone and you die alone, and you can only rely on yourself, but it's also being comfortable with the understanding that you are essentially in control of how you react to things and how you move on from things, but you can actually train your mind to be positive or to look at things from a solution perspective. So, I think everyone does it. It's just a habit that you get into, and having those internal conversations. So if the next thing I come across, because I will have a problem of varying degree. It could be a small problem, a big problem, but I'll have another problem the next week or so. It could be a small one, big one. It could be deciding the fact that I just don't know what to get in terms of coffee or the choice of a chocolate bar. That's a small one, or something massive. But it's having that practice in my mind before that to happen, and just say, how am I going to handle a small problem? How am I going to handle this problem? How am I going to handle that? And it's just looking at it from a logical perspective. But that comes with a lot of training, taking emotion out of it. So taking emotion out of it and giving self-advice as though you're looking down on yourself. So looking down on yourself and giving yourself advice from a logical perspective. That's how I view it. Obviously, everyone's minds are totally different. But in terms of every challenge that I look at it and pick it apart. Look at what makes sense, what doesn't. But the biggest thing is to take emotion out of it, because emotion just skews your viewpoint. And at the end of the day, people want peace. people want happiness. And to get to that, sometimes you just got to take the emotion out of it to actually get to that place.
Of the challenge, what is
Exactly.
happening. Okay. And if you wouldn't mind me asking, the support of your loved one, your other half, you talked about when there are challenges, talking about it. Which is something that I do also with my wife. Like, okay, we need to talk about it. Do not leave it under the cover. Were you always like that, or is that something that you learned along the way?
I feel I'm an open person.
Okay.
So if I'm open with you, I'd expect the same in return. I would say I'm quite cutthroat in a way, and my circle's quite small. So anyone who's not open to me, that's completely fine. That's how you view things. But in terms of how I want to be at peace or be happy, unfortunately, you just can't be in this circle because you stay over there and I stay over here. And I've always had that viewpoint. So obviously I met my wife 10 years ago. I had the same thought process as I've just explained. And luckily I found somebody as well who has the same outlook on life in terms of being open, getting things on the table, doesn't matter how hard they are, and getting it solved within a day. Solutions. So we have that approach to things. If there's an issue or which could be work related, because I've mentioned we work together, in terms of like a business issue or a problem, we just say we're going to solve it today and just get it sorted, and then move on from it tomorrow. And again, it's just one of those things of talking it through, being open with your loved ones and saying, how are we going to handle situations together? This is the methodology that we'll deal with. And if we get too emotional about it in the sense of it skews our judgment to the most logical outcome, which would be beneficial for both parties, then we'll just think about how we've discussed how we're going to handle problems, situations, and have that solution orientated mindset.
It's beautiful because it seems that you both look at the problem, how we solve that,
exactly,
versus like you, me, da da da. So and it's effective and better. I guess. Well, thank you for sharing these three, with me. Now, before we jump into the learnings and wisdoms, I just have one question, because you talked about the community that you put together. Which is, there's nothing more powerful than a community. We human beings, we evolved as a species because of the community gathering. Why did you decide to create that? Because I'm part of it, and I feel very blessed because it's a massive support, a go-to place where I can ask questions and support myself, and the other way, support others. Obviously you created that, and that came from somewhere, and just wondering why did you decided to.
First of all, have you found it super useful?
Have
you found it super useful?
I found it extremely useful. It's amazing because it's the go-to place whenever I have some questions, when I need support related to, because when I have my doubts, it's like, what is happening? Can I reach out to this big supportive network that I have, that I know someone would be eager to support me? It's amazing. And it's like in WhatsApp, where I am every day. So it's not that I need to arrange a meeting or something very formal. So I love it. So thank you for taking the time to create that.
No problem.
But why? How did that idea came up?
A couple of things. So it started about 4 years ago. Obviously, I know quite a lot of people in digital. Never thought about connecting everyone together because I don't think it's a normal thing that happens within recruitment or anything like that. It's everything's kept quite separate. So the first reason, I had a few clients about 4 or 5 years ago who came to me with situations and issues. I'm not a specialist within digital marketing, e-commerce. I've never ran or traded a site before. I've never worked with marketing agencies, so I don't know good looks like, what bad looks like. But they came to me with various different issues and problems. And what I could do is just basically introduce them to people who knew a lot more than them most of the time because they've had more years experience doing it. So it started off with a small, probably about 10 people of my closest clients all coming into a WhatsApp group because they were asking things like, should I use Shopify or Magento? I don't know. How should I restructure my team and what should it look like? I don't know. So bringing people together in that instance is where it all started with some of my closest clients. And I used to do legal recruitment before digital marketing, e-commerce. So going back to what I was saying, I came into setting the business without any clients or contacts. It was because I was doing legal recruitment beforehand. And if you look at firms of solicitors, partners, they network really, really well.
Oh, okay.
And they pretty much all know each other from these different firms. So coming into marketing, when I was asking some of your peers, do you know so-and-so or do you know such and such? Some of them go, no, I just don't really network that much. And then that got me thinking, and then people have commitments outside of work. So there's lots of events, digital events, but people have families or commitments outside of work. So sometimes they just can't go to it. So I just thought, actually, I'll just grow this network because there is a need for it. And I'm speaking to a lot of decision makers and senior people within digital and e-commerce anyway. So, if anyone wants to be part of it, they can. And when I say anyone, it's still invite only. So anyone who's nice, has an opinion, wants to learn, can definitely join. So it's developed into a really nice community now.
It's beautiful.
I mean, if you look this morning, everyone's...
Yeah, it's beautiful. And, it's quite a lot of people,
250.
Yeah, I saw it this morning. I was like, wow, like that is huge. It started from 10 people 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Exactly. So that's incredible. So thank you so much for
We have some events as well.
Yes, we have been. I remember an amazing pasta and nice get together. And amazing people.
Yeah.
Amazing people. So thank you for putting that together. It definitely makes us put us, better in a better position to face challenges.
Exactly.
And to go through and not feeling that, the conversion rate is down this week.
Yeah.
It's not only me, and then you have a big network where you say, well, it's something that everyone is experiencing. So that, brings your confidence back, because okay, it's not something that I did. It's something that is happening across the world, just to put an example out there.
And it's a lonely job, right?
Yeah.
So your boss could, or the CEO or managing director come to you and they're expecting the right answer. And sometimes, you just don't know what the right answer is. So this network is people all in the same boat, all experiencing the same things, and they can lean on each other, and get advice and get support because some people have better networks than others. And that's what it's about, bringing everyone together, which is good.
And that's beautiful. I think that example that you gave, I can relate many times.
Yeah.
And you're right. The expectation is for us to have everything figured out when we do a role. But the reality is that no one really have everything.
Exactly.
But I think that it's better when you are part of a community that gives you the support for you to have the strength and the understanding that, is something that is a common challenge. You don't really feel bad because probably everyone is facing that at the same moment.
Exactly.
And then you don't end up internalizing it yourself if you have a heated conversation with your manager. It's like, no, it's like, well, it is what it is, and I don't have all the answers. So thank you so much for putting that together. It's a beautiful initiative and have benefited a lot of people, including myself. Thank you.
No problem.
Now, let's jump into, that piece of learning, advice, whatever you want to share, whatever you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That you have gained throughout your experience in regards to looking after yourself.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically. You talked about challenges in general. And just wondering what is that piece of learnings, wisdom you wish you knew before?
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years before, or 5 years, I don't know. In regards to looking after yourself.
Yeah.
You said something that made me reflect, which is that quote that you are born alone and you will die alone. Yeah, which is very deep. But it all comes down to yourself.
Exactly.
How you support yourself, because you are is what you have. So any piece of wisdom, advice, learning, whatever you feel comfortable sharing in regards to looking after yourself in your mental health, in your physical health, whatever you feel comfortable.
Yeah, 100%. So I can just relate it to my experiences. So if we look at health, I would say I'm quite obsessive. So if I get into a particular thing, I get obsessed with it. So
I think that it's a human thing.
Everyone. Exactly.
Yeah.
So with work, and especially when you're passionate about something, you just want to give it 150% all the time. So with the business, in my early 20s, I would say, I wasn't as active as in my teens. So in my teens, I was probably, I was part of a football team, 2 rugby teams. I was exercising probably 6 out of 7 days a week. And then in my 20s, just stopped it and went all in on business. And I would say, if you're starting a business, just make sure that you're using that as a complete and utter focus, and look at your diet and things. So in the last, I would say, 2 years, I'm eating a lot more vegetarian dishes. But that's partly because actually 2 years I almost died because I got a blood clot. And that was from overworking. So I know I've asked for loads of coffee from you today, but actually during that time I was drinking lots of coffee. That was at the beginning of COVID. So I remember drinking a lot of coffee, and I think the advice I would say is be obsessed with work. But just use your common sense, use your common sense to just do the basics, drink water, move around all the time. But I think on that particular week when I got my blood clot, I wasn't moving. It was the start of COVID, so it was lockdown. I wasn't using my common sense. I was drinking far too much coffee and not drinking water. But after that experience, it's about just making sure that you're doing all the basics, which is just moving. I've got a gym at home now, so I'm trying to go as much as I can. So it's like 3 or 4 times a week. But I'm also about just trying to make sure you're using the best use of your time as well. So the fact that it's there, as opposed to traveling half an hour to go to one, it's a lot better for me. Because my mind's always active, and I do always want to work. So, because I'm still passionate about it. Just use your common sense, do the basics. And I think, if anyone's like starting a business or working really hard, when I first started the business, literally all my family was saying, don't start a business, don't do it. Always work for somebody. And that's fine. People have different timelines and different goals. And I think it's cool if you want to work for a small business, big business, or, do the daunting task of setting up your own business. But just having, going back to those self-reflections, what do you want? What do you want from your small, long-term goals? Having those internalized conversations, what you want, and just close off all the noise on the outside and ignore it. So if anyone is saying to you, it's not going to work, loads of people say this, they've experienced the same things where it's not going to work, don't do it.
Don't risk it.
Don't risk it. Ignore them. If you feel in your heart and your gut that you want to do it, just do it. Just do it. And I think what was the other thing that I was going to say? I think that's it. If people are saying it's not going to work, or you're coming across issues or problems, just face them. Head on with 100% gusto. And seek out people. If you don't have like a close network, or if you don't have someone to talk to, get a mentor. Get a mentor. Seek out people. People are very happy to help other people. It's surprising, in terms of the support out there. Strangers help strangers out. all the time, and the DLC community.
Yes,
that's a group full of strangers that are close, becoming friends. People are very happy to give their time to seek out mentors, seek out people who can help you. And going back to what I was saying, just seek problems, seek challenges, because you're going to grow from that and become a better person for it. You're going to be a stronger person. So when you come across a bigger challenge, you're just going to overcome it straight away. So seek out as many challenges as possible, and just have that self-confidence in you to kind of tackle it with gusto.
Thank you for sharing that. So I have two things that I want to ask. Maybe I'll just go for one.
Yeah.
You shared a very deep moment in your life when you said that when you almost passed away. I didn't know that. How do you see life after that, in terms of what is really important for you?
Yeah.
Because that's a pivotal moment that I guess triggers a lot of reflection.
Yeah.
So if you feel comfortable, how you mentioned that you made a couple of changes in your routine, like gym, eating more vegetarian. But if you wouldn't mind sharing how do you see life? Has that changed a little bit because of that perspective? And perhaps, what do you value more now than before, if you feel comfortable sharing?
I mean, I'm lucky. I feel like I've got everything in my life. So having that situation, it just made me realize just the basics in terms of just don't be silly, don't be stupid, move, and just drink water. But my mindset has never wavered. I've always had that: live in the moment, live in the present, don't look in the past, look in the future, but not too far in the future. Don't be disappointed with things, and just look at what genuinely makes you happy. Like for me, it's family and an opportunity. So making sure that I'm tackling things, making sure that I'm testing myself, and that's not changed. I would say that moment has not made me view things any different.
Okay.
Because I think I've always had a good viewpoint in terms of living in the moment, living in the present, seek challenges out, be happy. The only thing that I've definitely actually realised, you just move and just don't be silly with when it comes to exercise.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest things actually, not to kind of keep on a sad note, but my brother almost passed away last year.
Wow.
But because he had some kind of issue with his stomach and almost had his upper and lower bowel removed. But luckily, as an act of God, he was fine. But I would say that moment definitely made me view, actually, life is really short, So it wasn't myself.
Okay.
It was my little brother.
Loved one.
My little brother. Because he's only like 30, 29, 30. I don't think he would mind me saying this, but yeah. But he was very early to develop these sort of issues, all related to Crohn's, which was diagnosed really, really late. But he's on recovery now, which is really, really good. But seeing him in that state made me realize, actually, you've got to speak to loved ones, every single day. Sometimes you get too obsessed in your own journey, and speaking to your family more every day. And even though I would say I live in the present, it definitely made me think, oh, actually, okay, try and live in the present a lot more. Try and seek out communication with your family members on a daily basis, more regular basis, because your life is short. You get one chance at this world. So I would say I've been very lucky with my mindset. Like there isn't really anything that I would say that has kind of skewed it. There's only certain things, like that situation with my brother, which kind of just put it on a heightened alert and thinking about it a lot more, I guess. And that's translated into, how I attack my day, how I communicate with loved ones, how I push through adversity. But you need those situations to know that you're capable of overcoming things.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes we want to run away. It's like, no, I don't want to.
Just attack it. Exactly.
So thank you for sharing that. Well, one last one, because one last question here, because everything, the conversation is super interesting.
Yeah.
You talked about living in the present moment.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned that certain situations brought it more towards the surface in terms of, okay, I need to live in the present more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess many people struggle with that element of living in the present, because we are either lingering in the past because of this happened, this why it's said, or too far away into the future, thinking about I want dream that I have this house next to the beach where I can go surfing every day. Yeah. What is your top advice to actually live in the present moment, which is so difficult for everybody? You know, if there is one thing that you want to share and encourage everyone to do, to actually live in the present moment, or in life, whatever. But it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult. And we close with that.
I would say, get a piece of paper, draw up a list of all the things that make you happy. Draw up all the things which gives you headaches, which messes with your peace, your present peace. Rip it into, and anything which kind of messes with your peace or messes with your mental strength or how you perceive things, just cancel out of your life. And it's as cutthroat as that. So, because at the end of the day, if you're really serious about living in the moment, being happy, being mentally strong, it's getting rid of. It could be just social media, for example. What makes me unhappy? Not me personally. What could make somebody else unhappy is being on social media an hour a day. Obviously, people talk about that, and that's one of the things that you were just mentioned about the future. So, looking at what people have got, or there's always going to be somebody with a lot more than you. So it's about internalizing those conversations and knowing what makes you happy. What do you have that makes you happy? What are you content with? And all the other stuff is something you can strive for, which is fantastic. If you get there, great. But don't let it mess with your mindset or your whole piece, So, and then just put it in the bin and just completely just get rid of it.
Amazing. I think I love that, because it's almost like removing it from, somehow from you. It's like, this doesn't really work for me. Like,
exactly.
Out. Yeah.
And then just go all in on the things that make you happy. Like for me personally, what makes me happy is, I don't want to come across as a complete and utter workaholic, but work, because it's full of challenges, and that's what makes me happy. It's having the support of a family, having a family, and filling your diary with things to do. With things that you're passionate about, whether it could be painting or exercise or spending time with friends. Just fill your time with as much as possible. Don't be idle. Don't. I mean, you got to think about the internal conversations that we were talking about. Sometimes you have too many conversations, with yourself over a given period of time, and drive yourself stir crazy. So it's about just making sure that you're just kind of squeezing every moment of life and just filling your whole time with stuff to do, to progress yourself, to make you happier. And I think the biggest thing as well is just to repeat this: seek out challenges, seek out opportunities, seek out problems. For me, personally, the more I have of that and the more I overcome that, that makes me happy.
Okay, well, thank you. Very, very interesting to get to know you. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, it's been really good.
You very giving person. You managed to take your time while you're in London to have this conversation with the objective for this to support someone else. We don't know who is going to come across to this moment in time, and that says a lot about you in terms of your willingness to support. And back to your own reflection, there are much more people in the world. Like, the biggest percentage is the people that are willing to actually support and share, which is a bit, unfortunately, you wouldn't think like that straight away, but the reality is that it's like that. you know, and you're an example of it. You have taken the time. We have talked, I don't know, maybe 5 times in life.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
And you have decided to take the time to participate on this. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone that have taken the time to listen to this. This was part of Find Your Flouu mindfulness conversations. And we hope we have delivered in our intention today, which was to support and inspire others to feel good and alive every day. As you see, like Jack didn't talk about going on holidays to have these moments, no? He made specific examples on how he cultivates his life daily. So thank you everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Bye bye. Cheers.